Now, it's no secret when it comes to running a tight ship in your install bay, you gotta have everything you need, whether it's tools, materials, or accessories. Well, today we've got the king of accessories. And I don't mean Matthew Palumbo, but for Stinger Solutions. Mind you, Matt's the king as well. But we're going to be talking about all kinds of accessories that you need to have in your shop to succeed, especially with the challenge of all the types of vehicles coming through your bay. On this episode of Connected, we're diving deep into the world of Stinger Solutions. This is CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM, all about Stinger Solutions. And it starts now. What's going on, guys, and welcome to another episode of CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu, and you are tuned into CMA Networks, where we talk mobile electronics day in and day out. Today, we got a big one because this is an all-encompassing show that covers all the many brands under the Stinger Solutions umbrella. Now, joining me on this voyage is their headmaster, Mr. Matt Palumbo. Matt, welcome to the show. I know we got a lot to talk about, but hey, why don't you break it down for us?
Thanks so much, Ben. On today's show, we're really going through a host of our different brands, from Stinger to Audiocontrol to PAC. We want to make sure that dealers out there are aware of all the fantastic accessories that we offer, because at the end of the day, all of the cool products, the amps, the subs, the speakers, the head units, really don't do anything if you don't have the right accessories.
All right, Matt, we're going to get right in. But first, an opportunity for our partner, SiriusXM, to remind you why it's always an amazing add-on sale. And when we come back, let's dive deep into the world of accessories with Stinger. Don't you dare go away.
Hey, Paul here with SiriusXM, and I'd like to talk to you about attachment selling and why the SiriusXM product is one of the best things to add, especially since we don't trade dollars with any other category. I could go through all of this, but let's hear what some of our dealers have to say.
It's an easy add-on that takes, 10, 15 minutes if we're running an antenna, 1 minute if we've got an adapter to plug it into the factory SiriusXM antenna, and it's extra money, so no brainer.
I present it to every customer because a lot of customers don't know what all they can do with Sirius. They don't know what all content they could have. It just makes too much sense not to sell it.
It creates a different customer loyalty and customer security when you explain to them why it's a better experience. Just gets them back in the door, and then the next car, they're already asking for it again. So it just keeps selling itself. It makes more sense.
Well, there you have it. You heard from our dealers. Just remember some of the best practices. Make sure you have one on display so you can demo it. Make sure you're taking advantage of our rewards program, because if you're not taking advantage of that, you're leaving even more money on the table. Make sure you got our POP up on display. And other than that, just make sure you're recommending it.
And welcome back to the show. We have Matthew Palumbo with us. How are you doing today, Matt?
I'm great, Ben. How are you?
Well, you know what? I'm one of those guys that is very interested in accessories. And for me, it's always about that notion of how a system is only as strong as its weakest link, right? I remember back in the day, like many of you guys know, you started in 2-channel like a lot of us. And, the wiring, the interconnects, and all these things mattered. And they should continue to matter, because it could be great having those big components, the speakers, the subs, the amps, and all that stuff. But if you've got cruddy stuff connecting it all, what's the point? So having said that, today's show, we're going to cover a myriad of different products, because for those of you who don't know, the Stinger umbrella is wide. So talk to us a little bit about, the offering you have as a company when it comes to this category, which is the all-expansive accessory category.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from Stinger, first off, that's what most people know Stinger for, right? Is accessories, RCA cables, power wiring, distribution blocks, down to fuse holders and things like sound dampening and everything in between. So Stinger is definitely well known for this category. In some people's mind, they're the best known for that category. And then, when it comes to things like audio control, maybe not as well known for accessories, but we've got some really cool products under the Audiocontrol brand that a lot of folks may not know about, that can solve some really, hard to tackle problems in everyday install bays. And last but certainly not least is PAC. Many installers know and love PAC for easy to use, easy to install accessories that just flat out work. And that's really what PAC specializes in, is solving problems. And we're going to talk about some cool products today that absolutely solve problems.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing we're going to demystify today, Matt, is, of course, Stinger is known for their wires, as far as the gate, power wire, and their interconnects. But there's so many other cool ones that you need to know about. Same thing with, PAC, same thing with Audiocontrol. Okay, so let's dive right in. Let's start with Stinger. You started with Stinger. Let's go with Stinger. beyond just the the power wire and the interconnects, there's 3 items we want to talk about. That's how the show's going to roll. We've kind of selected 3 cool products per category. So when it comes to Stinger, there's wiring kits, but there's also application-specific wiring kits that we want to touch on. We also want to touch on some of the newer models or products that have come up within the sound damping category. And then last but not least, some wiring accessories that I'm sure installers would appreciate. So why don't I let you go, talk to us about some of these 3 items from Stinger.
So we all know when it comes to installing an amplifier in a customer's vehicle, you've got options, right? You could grab a universal wiring kit off the shelf, cut it to length, kind of make it work, but generally there's going to be some waste and maybe it doesn't have the exact parts that you wanted. Or you could go off the spool, grab wire off the spool, cut it to length, hope that you cut the right amount, guess how much you're going to need. And then there's always that back and forth of, well, how much do we need? How much length? How much do we charge? There's always some uncertainty there, right? What about using a vehicle-specific kit? Now, this can save you some time, save your customers some money, and save all of you a lot of headache. When it comes to late model Broncos and late model Jeeps, we've got you covered. If you're installing an amplifier under the seat of any of these vehicles, we have some perfect solutions. Stinger offers a 8-gauge kit for the late model Bronco, 4-gauge kit for late model Broncos, as well as a 4-gauge and 8-gauge kit for Jeeps. Now, when we take a look at these kits and what they include, you'll see these are not just your standard wiring kit. Not only are these kits pre-terminated and already have ferrules crimped and soldered on, they've already been heat shrunk, they've already been tech flexed, saving you a lot of time in the install bay. On top of that, we're including premium installation products with this. This is not some cheap CCA power wire and ground wire. This is top tier Stinger OFC power and ground, as well as some really nice flat RCA cables to make wiring and running them through the vehicle easy. On top of that, one of my favorite features and something I used to do in the install bay, I always used to make a little bracket out of ABS plastic to mount my fuse holders. Give it that extra special touch, make sure it's out of the way, and make sure it's not mounted to something it shouldn't be. But we've done that for you. You are getting a powder-coated steel bracket that bolts right to a factory mounting point near the battery, keeping that fuse right close to the battery there, keeping it within 18 inches, and it gives you the perfect spot to mount the included Stinger X-Link fuse holder. So you are getting all premium products that fit perfectly in your vehicle, and everything is cut to fit and pre-terminated, pre-lengthened just for that underseat install in that late model Bronco or Jeep. Now, what good is an amazing aftermarket audio system if all you can hear is buzz and rattle and road noise? Maybe if it's not even about having a big sound system, maybe it's just about killing road noise in a noisy vehicle, right? This is where Stinger Roadkill comes in. We offer an entire line of sound damping products that can help silence that vehicle, hence why this product is called Roadkill, right? So we have silencer mat product, we have installation accessories like rollers, we even have the foam rings to help increase mid-bass response, we've got everything from hood liner to carpet pad, we've got the foam mat, we have every different type of sound damping you can imagine under the Stinger Roadkill family of products, and they're all done in easy to use, easy to identify kits for your trunk, your doors, a speaker kit, or maybe just a universal kit, or maybe even one of the big bad boy bulk kits. We have it all. Now, when it comes to bringing it all together and connecting all these cool products, what are you using, right? What wire are we using? What tools are we using? Where do I get the connectors? Stinger's got you covered. We have ferrules, we have tools, we have all the little odds and ends that you could need as far as RCA connectors, circuit breakers, RCA cables, you name it, we've got it. You can see on our website, there is just a small selection of some of the things that we offer, but we really do have it all. Be sure to check out Stinger Solutions for more of these installation accessories to make your installs even better.
All right, Matt, thanks for that quick walkthrough and a couple of the cool products. One of note that I want to mention, you might have seen some videos floating around, but it's my personal favorite product from Stinger in this category, and that is the X-Link. I know we didn't get a chance to talk about it. If you guys haven't checked that out, Why is anybody stocking multiple distribution blocks and fuse holders anymore? I don't understand, because the X-Link literally solves it all with one SKU. So check that out if you guys don't already know. That's the X-Link. Okay, moving quickly along to our next category, Matt, we're going to get into some audio control stuff. Now, I was kind of curious when you brought up, audio control for accessories, because when I think of audio control, of course, I'm thinking amps and DSPs and LOCs, but now more recently, the introduction of speakers and amps and subs and all that type of stuff. But there's a couple cool, I'll call them little secrets in the catalog that I want you to talk about. So go ahead, let's take it away with some audio control accessories.
Now, for the audio control accessories, we're going to switch over to the audiocontrol.com website and take a look at first the ACRU. Now, I think this is a really cool product. It's one that I helped develop because I saw a need for this. When I was in the install bay, we used to do a lot of boats, and 9 times out of 10, consumers wanted a way to control the volume of their tower can speakers from the driver's seat. But unfortunately, with a lot of the smaller boats we were handling, the radio would be over on the passenger side of the boat. So we would put a universal level control over on the driver's side, which meant running 20 feet of RCA all the way around the open bow to the driver's seat, 20 feet of RCA all the way back over to the head unit and amplifiers. And it was kind of a mess, and you're asking for noise. So we developed the ACRU based off of this problem and hopefully a solution. There's lots of universal level controls out there, but the ACRU is unique in that the hideaway module portion of it is where your RCA connections are. So you can put this close to your amplifiers and put the knob wherever you want, because the knob is connected to the hideaway module via a single Cat5 cable. Now, this is a passive device, meaning it does not require power and ground. You can literally put this in just about any situation. You have an SPL vehicle, you need to have a 50-foot cable so you can burp it outside the car, no problem. You need to have a remote level control in your living room for your subwoofer and your home theater system. I mean, you can come up with all sorts of reasons for this. I've used them in RVs and buses and boats and all sorts of cool scenarios where a single Cat5 is much skinnier and easier to run than a big grouping of RCA cable. And as an added bonus, this does only come with a short piece of Cat5 to use out of the box, but you can put just about any length of Cat5 in there. We've tested up to 400 feet of cable with virtually no signal loss. Definitely not what's going to happen if you run 400 feet of RCA cable. Now, switching over to the ACX BT3, this is another really cool product that solves a unique problem. I don't want a full head unit on my boat or my side-by-side or whatever vehicle or application it is, but I do need separate volumes. I want to be able to control the tower can speakers separate volume from the subwoofer, and I want that volume separate from the interior cabin speakers, let's say. The ACX BT3 handles that with ease. Now, it does have 3 sets of RCA outputs, 6 channels. So you would think it's front, rear, and sub. It is not. It is zone 1, zone 2, and zone 3. Now, that little center button on the ACX BT3, when you click this little center button here with the glyph, the audio control logo, you'll see that it changes colors to show you which zone you're on. Now, while you're in that zone, you press volume up and down, you're only controlling the volume of that zone. And as an added bonus, there's a lot of Bluetooth products out there, but most of them, unfortunately, have a really weak output. The ACX BT3 gives you 4 volts of RCA out. So it is definitely a superstar in this category. Now, last but certainly not least, this is not a new product. We've made these for a long time. It has been improved over the years and made smaller, but the Matrix Plus is my secret weapon to a great sounding car audio system. Honestly, if you asked me today, Matt, what's one product that I could add to just about any aftermarket system and make it better? The Matrix Plus is absolutely my go-to answer. So let's say you have a aftermarket source unit and maybe its outputs are a little bit weak. Maybe they're only 1 or 2 volts. Add a Matrix Plus, suddenly you've got all the voltage you could want, because the Matrix Plus can bump up those RCA outputs to up to crazy amounts, like 13 volts if you really needed it. Now, maybe you don't need that every day. Maybe you have an aftermarket head unit in the system that has 4-volt outputs. That doesn't mean they couldn't be better. I personally have used a Matrix Plus with a high-end aftermarket head unit before, and still the results are drastically better when you add a Matrix, because when you ramp up that output on those RCA cables and you are able to take your gains all the way down on your amplifiers, you end up with more volume, less distortion, more headroom, more clarity, Everything's better with high voltage RCAs. Lastly, one of my favorite uses for the Matrix Plus is, let's say you're doing multiple sub amplifiers. I'm going to put in 3 2,000 watt sub amps and I want to have one knob that controls all of them. No problem. When you plug in an ACR1 to a Matrix Plus, you can set it up so that it is a master volume control. So you're bringing a single 2-channel subwoofer input from your head unit. You're getting 6 channels of subwoofer amp output to go out to your amplifiers. And now you've got one bass knob that controls all of them. And rather than splitting your voltage every time by using Y adapters, instead, you're actually ramping up your RCA voltage and giving a solid, say, 4 to 8 volts to each of those sub amps if that's what you want. It's all completely controllable right from the top of the Matrix Plus. And trust me, if you've never put in a Matrix Plus, order one, put it in your own car. You will thank me later.
All right, so if you're keeping score, we're trying to give you a whole bunch of information, guys, as far as accessories from the Stinger Solutions camp. We talked about Stinger. We talked about audio control, some really nifty ones. I love that Matrix deal, by the way. Now, we're going to go into PAC. Now, obviously, PAC is known for its integration modules, right? Whether you're putting in an amplifier or a radio. But there's more to be had in the PAC catalog. Matt, please take it away with some interesting ones that you need to know about.
Absolutely, Ben. You know, a lot of people know PAC for audio integration and all sorts of cool modules that just work. But what a lot of people don't know PAC for is CAN bus integration. And that's really where the CAN Pro comes in. Now, the CAN Pro is a really unique product. It's very, very cool. What we have right now is we have some T harnesses for late model Teslas and late model Fords, some common vehicles that a lot of installers see on the daily basis. Let's take the Tesla, for example. Now, when you look at this, you've got yourself a T harness that's going to plug right in at the back of the center console in your late model Tesla Model 3, Model Y. Now, what does this thing do? What it actually does is plugs right into these Tesla vehicles and gives you some analog outputs. Now, these can be things that are, you know, sometimes hard for installers to go find. Things like accessory power, an illumination trigger, you know, maybe an ignition trigger, turn signals for adding cameras or lights, etc. Maybe even integrating with light bars or things like that. Depends on what your customer's into, right? But this gives you the ability to easily T-harness in without cutting up any wiring and gives you some solid, reliable outputs. Now, these are also available for a whole handful of Ford vehicles. Again, some of these can be vehicles that are hard to find a reliable turn-on signal or a reliable, you know, parking light trigger, turn signal trigger, things like that. So make sure to check out the CAN Pro. The next part of PAC that we're going to check out is the steering wheel control integration. Now, let's face it, no customers want to lose features that they already have. Everybody's got steering wheel controls just about anyway on their late model vehicle, and very few people are going to want to lose them. Now, this seems like a category that not a lot of people probably want to talk about, but it is an important one, and it's one that you don't want to have to waste time on. Yes, there are tons of steering wheel control integration modules and adapters out there, but how many of them really work on the first try? How many of them can really be programmed super easily? How many of them do you really trust, right? That's where PAC comes in. So with PAC, we offer a whole handful of different steering wheel control integration modules. Most of you are familiar with things like the SWI CP2 or the SWI CP5. Those of you that have been around a little while might remember the SWI X, which is an actual IR repeater. But there is lots of different applications, and we cover just about all of them. You know, the beautiful part with the PAC modules is their reputation. Personally, as someone that was in the install bay for years, I can tell you I always trusted the PAC modules were just going to work because they did. No tricky flashing or software or anything like that. Read some simple instructions, flip the dip switches, and away you go. That's exactly what you want when you're in the install bay and you're trying to get the job done. One of the last PAC products that we're going to talk about, or product categories, is the LPH harnesses. Now, these are a personal favorite of mine because I can't tell you how many times I've had to run 2 runs of 9-wire and cut the harness behind the factory radio just so that I could install an aftermarket 4-channel or 5-channel amplifier. It can, you know, definitely take some time, and let's face it, who wants to cut into the factory wiring? LPH harnesses, key in behind the factory radio and give you all the inputs and outputs that you need to do a aftermarket amplifier. Now, whether you're just doing a simple add a sub system where you're just adding on an LOC and an amplifier with a subwoofer, or maybe you're doing a whole system or adding a 5-channel amp or multiple amplifiers, LPH harnesses are essential. Now, one of the cool things about these, you might be thinking, what's the big deal? It's just a T-harness, Matt. They are not just a T-harness. When you take a look at some of these harnesses, you'll notice, especially if you look closely, these have a cool little feature in them. They have these nice little disconnects right here where you can actually disconnect portions of the harness and just plug in the aspects you need. What am I talking about? If you're just adding on a amplifier and subwoofer, well, obviously I don't need to tap into every speaker in the vehicle, and I don't want to interrupt those speaker wires. I just need to kind of tee into them, right? Now, that's what we allow you to do. You'll notice that there's different variations of the harnesses that are all included there. So if you just need to grab signal but not interrupt it, we include a little jumper that you plug in, and it gives you the signal you need. If I'm going to interrupt all of the channels of signal because I'm going to feed them into my LOC or into my 5-channel amps high level input, we have the harnessing for that as well. Now, on top of that, let's say I'm not going to just put something in the dash. I'm going to actually be putting an amplifier in the back of the vehicle. And well, now I have to extend all these, Matt. No problem. We make a product called the LPH EXT17 that allows you to actually extend all of this easily, and it already comes pre-terminated, ready to go. So again, all of this is about saving you time, saving your customer's car from getting cut up, and hey, if you ever have to undo it because they're turning the car back in from lease or they're selling the vehicle, this makes it a snap. You can undo your install cleanly, quickly, and make it fast and easy for everyone. These T-harnesses really are a lifesaver, and we offer them for a ton of different vehicles. So there's so much more available from PAC, Audiocontrol, and Stinger. You know, this was just a small taste of all the different products we offer in this category. So be sure, if you want to find out more, you want to see more details about anything we talked about, or maybe something we didn't talk about, be sure to check out stingersolutions.com. Or if you really want to dive deep on one of the specific brands, you can check out pac-audio.com or audiocontrol.com as well. Thanks so much.
I want to take this opportunity and thank our good friend Matthew Palumbo for joining us on today's Connected. Now, Matt went ahead and gave you the website, so do take a look. This is a huge catalog if you look at the bigger picture from the Stinger Solutions category. They cover everything: sound damping, accessories, integration, anything of wiring or terminals, so on and so forth. I guess at the end, what we're talking about here is that if you're going to partner with a supplier that's got your back in every segment when it comes to accessories, potentially Stinger is definitely one of your top choices. As a note, I definitely want to give a shout out to a couple of the innovative products. Again, I mentioned the X-Link as far as the distribution /ground/fuse holder item. I think that's something you definitely should take a look at. I love the little trinkets from PAC that help you wire with extensions. I think that will save a lot of time. And then the other thing I want to take note of is also the application specific kits. I'm happy Matt brought it up, because when you're doing a vehicle and you're doing it a lot, let's say it's a specific model that's coming in, what you want is to be able to build a workflow, and not only a workflow, but also a quoting system. We've all been there. You have a vehicle come in, you're taking wiring off the rolls, you're cutting lengths of speaker wires, so on and so forth. These application specific kits give you a standard of what your cost is. Therefore, you can repeat and know exactly where your margins are and not have to guess. I think that is absolutely phenomenal. Well, lots more to discuss, but hopefully you've learned something. Head on over to the website, find out more. And that's it for this CMA Connected, brought to you by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.